welcome to this morning's pre-market prep. We're trying to do this every morning. So this is where at Story Trading we look at stocks through the lens of the four pillars: fundamental, sentiment, catalysts, and technicals. This video is for our VIP members only. There's an unlisted YouTube link, which we may publish later on a delay. So let's go through our watch list here. SPY and QQQ. It's interesting. SPY yesterday broke below the 200 DMA after it broke above it, and now in pre-market it's back above it. So, well, barely. It's a battle there at the 200 DMA. So important level for the SPY. QQQ still above the 50 DMA. I personally, for the first time since the Fed increased rates, I stepped back into a little bit of PSQ. But more importantly, as a hedge, I went into a bunch of gold yesterday, and I talked about that in the post-market show, post-market wrap. We'll get back into gold in just a second, but first we can see oil is holding its tremendous gains, which is going to be important for the energy sector, as you can see in XLE. XLE is up this morning. Same with natural gas, oil, all impacting XLE. And, the high oil prices is a sentiment tailwind for Tesla. And Tesla is broke above that 50 DMA, holding it 2,200 bullish cross right now. So if you're into trading Tesla, you've been having a good time. Wheat, kind of stable, a little bit down, but overall still holding its gains, and that's what drives the agriculture stocks. Now, gold. Yesterday, I put out a note about gold that I got back in after getting largely out after the Fed meeting. And what I was doing here is trying to anticipate a break of the 220 DMA, right? Which is just trying to do this morning. It briefly did it this morning on a catalyst. But that's what we do at Story Trading. We're not only looking at technicals, but we're trying to anticipate what may happen next by looking at other pillars. In this case, sentiment and fundamentals. And what are those sentiment and fundamentals with gold? The fundamentals which really drive gold are negative real yields. That means when the inflation rate is higher than the interest rate being charged, that's a negative yield. But the direction of it's very important, right? Are those negative yields getting worse, more negative, or more positive? And, the chatter that was been increasing really yesterday afternoon, as you can see, it was going up in the afternoon, is that people are worried, Wall Street's worried about inflation again, and worried the Fed cannot keep up with the higher inflation. So that means that the negative yields could get more negative, which is generally very good for gold, right? So I'm trying to front run that sentiment conversation that's happening, combined with the underlying fundamentals, where I believe that that's going to be true. Now, I may be wrong on that speculative bet that inflation will be higher, go up higher than interest rates. But that's why I went back in yesterday, because I don't like to buy after the breakouts, because you got to be so fast, and it breaks out to 20, and you may end up like by the time you're acting, it spikes and you have to buy it at 185. I'd rather buy it right before the breakout, and sometimes you'll be wrong. But if you use the four pillars, oftentimes you'll be right. Now, this morning, it spiked way above because there was a catalyst this morning coming from a couple large Twitter accounts, Walter Bloomberg, and I believe is on Zero Hedge as well, that NATO was looking at how to react in case, how to prepare in case there's a nuclear event. So that to me is just a catalyst. It's not the real reason. All right. If the fundamentals were not good, and if this was not about to break the 20 DMA, I'm not sure that we would have seen such a big pop on that. And you can see the market, SPY and QQQ didn't really react, and oil didn't really react. In fact, we're seeing a drop in oil right now. I wonder what that's about. Maybe some news out on that. But none of those reacted, but gold did. And I think that's because of the technicals and fundamentals, and it's just ready to break out. 182 is a key level I know a lot of technical traders are looking at. I may actually add a trading position, a more aggressive trading position in my account. As of now, everything I added yesterday was long-term in my IRA. Okay. So that's gold. CLF. Now these are the 3 trade of the week picks. Pick Sunday night on our show. CLF. I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the person who submitted this, but this is doing great. It got an upgrade this morning, or maintained the overweight by JP Morgan, but they raised the price target from like 30, low 30s to 44. Okay, so that was a big deal there at CLF. LIACF, it's been having a great week. This is both a lithium and uranium miner. So uranium goes up when oil prices go up. That's the connection we've been seeing. And lithium's been going up with Tesla going up, which goes up because oil's going up, right? So this has both lithium and uranium. It's been on a great run. You can see on the 5-day chart, they're probably going to win our competition for Trade of the Week. And the other one that I put in for Trade of the Week is CCJ. It's been up, had a right out of the gate, did great this week. Yesterday was a little disappointing for me. I expected a little bit better because oil was ripping yesterday. So we'll have to see what happens today. Also have to look into why oil is suddenly dropping right there. XLE is still positive. So DNN, again, that's a uranium play. Now, Arcadia. This one's a micro cap, 43 million. It's a micro cap ag company that I've been monitoring, and maybe I should have gone into it, but I've been monitoring as a proxy for ARTW, another micro cap ag stock, which we got in like in 450 range, a bunch of us. I was able to get some out in the 6+ range, but I got back in a pretty big way yesterday because I'm like, these usually run together, and Arcadia has been exploding. Now, yesterday they had a catalyst that says earnings report is coming out next week, so you can have an event anticipation run that may be what's happening in Arcadia, but it broke over the 50 DMA. In fact, I think the 200 DMA. That was a 50-week MA. This is a 200-day moving average. It broke out above that, and I'm thinking people are going to find RW again, but honestly, Arcadia may be the better stock to play. It's more liquid. It's more of a growth company compared to RW. I have a bias towards RW because I knew it from many, many years ago in the last ag boom cycle when it went to like $15. And I like it because they're consistently profitable company. They don't dilute, so I feel safe with it. But I can understand if traders want to go for Arcadia, a sexier company, more growth. Also, obviously, always more risk for dilution and things like that. But that's what's going on right now. The traders are liking Arcadia more than RW. Hopefully, some of that money will flow into RW. Along with the ag sector, man, huge winners in Mosaic and IPI. We've been on this from the very beginning, courtesy of Matt S. and also Randy helping us out with Mosaic. But I actually sold some IPI yesterday because I was in at $45. I did some averaging up. So I sold some IPI, but I still want to be in the space. So I rotated like 25% of those proceeds into MOS. Man, these valuations are still very low compared to the last boom cycle, like in about 10, 15 years ago. The EV to revenue ratios were much, much higher for both MOS and IPI. So they could have much more room to go. But relatively speaking, valuation-wise, MOS is much cheaper at this point, which is why I started making that move of rotating some IPI into MOS. Now, KMI, let's see, it had a dark pool trade yesterday morning, 14,772,000 shares at $18.10. Remember, we learned about dark pool with Vegas on Sunday night. But in any case, this was introduced to our community by Tony. I like the chart. The yield is very good, but the story here, 6% yield, the story here, as Tony laid out, is that they're not just if you look in the midstream, I think it's called. I'm not an expert in all this area, the transportation of natural gas, but they're now a producer. Okay, they're now a producer because of an acquisition, a natural gas producer, and perhaps a sentiment of that, Wall Street pigeonholing this company as midstream, which is valuations are not as high. So now they're a natural gas producer. Perhaps people are going to catch up on that. So I actually have a pretty big position in KMI, both near-term and intermediary-term calls. So we'll see. Some of those expire tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be able to print and make some money on that. All right, here's a stock, RNER. which, man, yesterday we made a ton of money on this SPAC, ALLG. Wow, would you look at that? But man, I got in at like $10 after hours when it was announced that there's only $1 million after a million shares after the DSPAC, very low float because of the high redemptions, and made a great amount of money. I'm out of it now, but um, when you have SPACs that do crazy well like this, it often, wow, look at that chart. If this breaks 22, that could get fun. But it often is a catalyst for other SPACs to come into play. So this SPAC here just announced their acquisition target yesterday, and it's a cybersecurity company. And cybersecurity is really, really hot. So I entered a pretty large position. The downside's very limited because the deal didn't close and it's not going to close for some time. So you can always redeem for $10. So downside limited, but if traders find it, it's an Israeli cybersecurity company. Here we go, HEB Cybersecurity. And if you actually read about what they do, it's pretty relevant in terms of the cybersecurity wars we're going through with Russia in terms of government services and protecting government data is what they do, government and commercial. But so that's RNER. I placed a seed there. We'll see what happens with that if the traders find it. I'm going to jump back to KODK in a second, but ANDE, another Matt S pick. He gave us ZIM. He gave us IPI. I was late on this, but I finally added because he's insisting the fundamentals are still great. There's an agriculture company, and that's a beautiful chart. Looks like a gigantic cup and handle. So I added that to my IRA, ANDE yesterday. Let's go to some of the top story trading stocks a lot of you may have big positions in: CFVI, SMSI, AIR, DRIO. CFVI kind of like in a holding pattern right now, I believe, unless one of two things happen. You get a catalyst, like a big catalyst, maybe March metrics. They never released February metrics, so maybe it wasn't a record. It was a shortened month, 28 days, but March hopefully will be a record. So maybe we're 8-9 days away from that. Or if DWAC explodes, which is possible because it's short squeeze on season for the meme stocks, and GME and AMC are exploding. So if DWAC explodes, CFVI goes up. If they release record metrics or a huge publisher, it can explode. So that's where we are with CFVI. SMSI, we're waiting on a T-Mobile launch, which could happen any day. And I'm looking for, I think we have resistance up here at 374. There's another resistance level down here at the 20 DMA. Personally, I'm going to be flipping some of my shares that I've started picking up at 299 and I've been accumulating up. I don't know what my average is, probably in the 3 teens area. That's not a real close 318. It's 329. So we'll see what happens with that. AIR, they had an order the other day. They have earnings coming up next week. We could see an event anticipation run. I'm not terribly bullish on this right now. I know Rex is. Those of you who follow Rex on the technicals. So we'll see what happens with that. DRIO had earnings. Wasn't like a huge event to me. I mean, to me, everything was pretty much known. I think they're on track. But the next day, they had a significant news here. See, 9% on 2 contracts. If you read the wording of these 2 contracts, they look pretty significant. A global healthcare company and a social platform. I don't know what they mean by that. Are they talking about like someone big? I don't know, Twitter, something like that. I'm not sure, but it could be 2 large employers possibly, and the stock moved healthily on that. So that's all I'm going to cover now, except I want to come back to this kind of bonus stock. I don't cover these a lot. Stock was ALLG, right? Stocks that basically maybe the fundamentals are not there, right? But there's a lot of other things going on. So here's one for you, which is KODK, which Rex has been pushing for a while. I'm like, why? Why would this squeeze? Just because it squeezed before, or just because it's a crap company? But what happened yesterday? Yesterday, there was a huge insider buy that was revealed on the Form 4. 39 million, no, is it 39? 2.7 million shares, which is what, $16, $17 million worth of stock, right? And that to me is now justifying this big move. In fact, he was part of that. That insider buy happened on this day here on the 18th and also happened on the 21st, right? So insiders buying on the 18th and the 21st. That was probably part of the move why it went up. And now you're over the 200 DMA. So take all of that and combine it with Rex's magic. And you know what? This might be one of those bonus things I play as a trade rather than an investment because I'm not really familiar with the fundamentals, and sentiment wise, it doesn't seem like it should be something hot, Kodak, but I don't know the story well. So that's something to consider. So that's the pre-market prep, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.